Good morning, my friends. Okay, it's past noon. I'll be honest. Today, let's see, how do I start off this video? God, I made so many damn videos. It's like, every day I start thinking, how long is it going to take for me to get tired of making videos? But, got stuff to say, and so I say it. A lot of people don't want to listen, so I just say it out to the internet. Finding people who not are like-minded, but understand where I'm coming from when I say I just don't know shit, but I'm working on it. I think that applies to everyone in this world. We're all in this together. When I was younger, I had this idea that, people had it figured out. That there were certain people, you got to an age or something where you're like, oh yeah, okay. But, even when I was young, I was questioning, why do people just work and die? Don't people have something deeper in life? So for me, when people talk about, the purpose of life or the meaning of life, and when they say that some people think it's love or whatnot, and I've had many discussions with people over whether love's just a human, man-made emotion, or whether it's a universal awareness, whether or not love is something that's developed just genetically for us to survive, or if it's something that is more divine in nature. And I think we'd like to think it's more divine in nature, but I still can't help but think it's a human construct in the sense that we think of love. But I guess my point here isn't whether I know real love, and I feel fortunate to know it. I love my family and my friends, and I'm just so grateful to have people in my life. And it's not just for family and friends. I feel it in my heart for the children who are harmed, for the adults who are harmed, for the people who suffer in this world. And I picture people like the refugees sitting in tents, a family just hoping for the best, or somebody in a place where they can't get fresh water and they've spent their whole lives, every morning the hike is 5-10 miles to get water and back. I mean, these are things that people face, and it doesn't mean that they're unhappy, it just means that they have a different perspective on life. And in America, I can't help but be stuck with this, totally different, I guess, my own perspective, because I'm an American, and I'm very grateful for it. Because even though a lot of people look down on America, and in fact, it's interesting because I was curious yesterday and I read an article, I was wondering, why do Brits hate America? And I know all Brits don't hate America, I know that. But I've noticed that a lot of people from the UK tend to be really harsh on America and American policies. And so I looked it up, and actually they had a whole poll where they asked, what the main reasons were. Then there was another poll where they asked what people think of America, or what they have against America, and it's usually military invasion, but whatnot. But then a lot of people love America's military because they've helped them out of situations. And so I don't even get into the politics of the military or the government. That's not what I'm here to talk about. It's more along the lines of things are very complicated in this world. And we tend to think narrow-mindedly. We look through our tunnel vision, and we forget that other people are just trying to get by too. And it's a big, confusing life for each one of us. And as we get older, a lot of people can pull into this way of thinking where they believe they have it all figured out. And I've gone through many different phases of thinking, and changed into thinking things that I never thought that I would believe or even consider. And I've also cast out a lot of things that I believed intensely for a long time. Not religious-based, but, certain conspiracies or ideas about how the world really works, or, just simple geography. And I think that we should require for our politicians that they understand basic geography and basic philosophy, as well as general history on societies that have collapsed, in other words, Roman, Greek culture, understanding what happened. To be able to say, do you know why these empires collapsed? Do you understand what shilling is, or shaving, and how they used to shave their coins, and that's how people ripped each other off back in the day, They'd just slowly skim off of the coins, and this is why the edges of coins are rippled, and like American change, why it has those marks is so because up until 65 they were making silver quarters, and it would be easy just to skim a little off the edge here and there. At least that was the original thought behind it. But society has just gone, it seems like it's going hog wild, yet at the same time it seems like people are actually coming together in a lot of ways. I mean, the internet and the technology has brought a lot of people together, yet at the same time there are still countries that are truly blocked. Their internet's blocked, they're not allowed to say or think certain things. North Korea, parts of China, which is, they're working into, they're getting better and worse at the same time. I don't dismiss any country just because they've done something stupid. It's just like me saying this politician has a bad idea or a good idea, so therefore I'm going to discount them or accept them. And just realize that countries are countries and people are people, and everybody's trying. But we're stuck in this system that's been perpetuated by those who came before us. And it's fascinating to me. It's easy to throw up your hands and say, this system's screwed, it's got to start over, and that was the attitude I had for years. And I realized how hard people have really worked for this. What a masterpiece, really, the Constitution is, and how, even though amendments must be made and times do change, and our country is so young, the idea of equality and freedom is something that very few cultures embraced in the past. It was my way or the highway. Religious freedom was not accepted anywhere in the world. It was not a normal thing. It was like, if you don't believe what we believe, you need to either be burned at the stake or move on somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? And the church had very strong authority. But here in the U.S., it's when people say that, that it's a Christian nation. And that's true. There are a lot of Christians here. But it doesn't mean that it's a Christian nation. It just means there are a lot of Christians in the world, and a lot of them live here. Because I have the ability to speak out on political issues like this. Now, if I lived in certain places, me making a video like this and uploading it, I'd have the fucking Gestapo at my door in an hour, and I'd just disappear. And it's horrible out there. I mean, there's certain places where you really can't stand up for yourself, and you can't win. In fact, this is what's happening in a lot of places in the Middle East. I've had some discussions with people lately about, the refugee crisis, and people will say, that the same shit I hear on the news, that they're rapists and most of them are just men and they're going to cause terrorism. The truth is, getting into, like, say, the U.S., it's a 5-year vetting process. It can be up to 5 years. They want to increase it to something like 8. But it takes a minimum of 2 years and all these different processes for a person to get into this country, and even then, they may or may not be accepted. It's not a matter of terrorists getting in, and the issue isn't, I guess what I'm saying is that you have to look at both sides of the coin. People are suffering, and some people are taking advantage of that. But that's the way it always is, but you can't ignore the suffering because of that. So, I have an understanding on both sides of the coin, Countries want to say, I want to shut my borders because our economy is already bad enough. But at the same time, I remember somebody said yesterday, why don't they stand up and fight for themselves? And I thought about that, and I realized, well, in a lot of countries, if a country were to invade the USA, we would all take up arms and we would defend our homeland. But if our government was already extremely oppressive and we had some dictator we didn't stand for, which a lot of people believe that already, but if we felt like there was no choice, we had no way to defend ourselves, no weapons, and this massive group moved in, I can see people moving out as refugees. If you have a family, you don't want to die, you don't want your kids to die, you don't want to stand and fight, you sneak off in the night and try to get as far away from the conflict as you can. In other words, if you don't already like where you live, then you're not going to defend it. So that makes it hard too. As the more and more countries use up their resources, more desertification takes place, more destruction of topsoil, then these crises are going to get worse and worse. So this is why I really try to look at it from a wider perspective of not how do we protect, our personal interests in our lives at this moment, but really how do we protect the future? Which always leads me to wonder, why do people care? why do people care about the future? You know, I don't mean that as an actual question, but rather, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist. Everyone has a respect for one another and understands cooperation. If you don't cooperate, then you can't survive. It's human nature. So you'll find altruism happening even within people who have absolutely no belief in, say, right or wrong or good or evil. They just do things for people without being religious. In other words, you don't have to fear a God or think you have to do the right thing because you're told to. There seems to be something inherent within human nature that we've written down, which is, when you feel jealous, when you feel like harming another person, there's a feeling you get in your gut that tells you that it's wrong. Even when you go to verbally attack someone, even on the internet, and you'll feel this thing in your stomach. Well, people get addicted to that. That's the adrenaline, the fight or flight that we have turned into something that occurs during a discussion, a non-threatening discussion, and people get really worked up over it. And this is why politics has become such a hotbed for idiots, because guys like Trump can move in and just say what everybody wants to hear. Not what I want to hear, but what people think they want to hear is what it rather is. That the problem is immigration when it's not the problem, or that we shouldn't have health care when we need it to a degree. Just saying I'm gonna just wipe out everything that has been created and I'm gonna start over and we're gonna make this work. These are things that people want to hear, and these are things that move people. They go, yeah, right on. Like Bush, going to get them terrorists. And it just wreaked havoc, caused more and more problems. So I guess it's just important for me because I sit here and a lot of the time I'm doing what I can and I living my life. Got my kids, my family, my house, my wife, and dog, and my cats. And I stop for a minute and realize, dude, what is this really all about? Where are we going as a society? Where are we going? And what's going to happen? Do we just throw in the towel? Or do we try to make a change? Ball's in your court. Talk to you all.